So let's have a look. Let's have a look. Greetings. I'm over here in the Tarot Lumination Library where we keep all the tarot decks. All the astro doodles are stored here. Love Triber also has her own office off to the side over there. Okay. So anyway, it's a work in progress. As you can see, there's still a lot of bits and pieces that are not quite organized, but in general, it's holding up quite well. Greetings. Hello, Piraj. So, Piraj, Tarot Lumination, normally what we do here is every Sunday night we have a small gathering of people and we do live tarot mini readings, okay? And people put money in the slots and the super chats and everything, but I'm starting to pluck up a little bit more courage where we talk about the bigger issues going on, because I'm sensitive to these things just like everybody else. Some of you know. Hold on. Let me go check back in the library. Oh yes, here we are. Oh yes. Yeah. Sorry, I had to go to get it from the library. Hello, Diana. Okay. So as you know, I wrote this quite a long time ago, and everything in here is true. It's all about what's happening today, and ever since basically January 2020, when the bomb was dropped, basically the China virus, the internet has been lighting up with a lot of conversations all about global restructuring, financial this, financial catastrophe, financial Armageddon. Some people are making millions and billions of dollars out of the chaos. Tens, hundreds of millions of people's lives are being devastated out of the chaos. So there you go. It just depends like who you are, where you're born, and how this is all working out for you. Hello, Diana. Yes. Hello, Piraj. 5 p.m. What? Oh, okay. So anyway, I just wanted to share a few things that were shared with me. Thank you, Path. Okay. Yes. I'm doing a little bit of remodeling over here on this section, and I'm trying to reorganize the books over here. But in general, it's looking pretty good. This is where we do all our astrodoodle maps and planning and everything. So, yeah. So, over the last week or so, things have been very active over here at the Tarot Lumination World Headquarters, like where we're doing like a type of consolidation of energy fields, because I'm a little bit dislocated as a person. Some of you know that I have a place in Los Angeles. I'm staying here in Las Vegas. I have a little bit of a home sort of set up. I have some foundations set up over in New Zealand. I've traveled a lot of places. I've lived a lot of places. And, the clock is ticking. And we're reaching this point of like global history where none of us have ever been before. There are very well charted cycles. Like, I'm not a historian, all these books, this is where all the knowledge is. I'm just a filter. I'm just an instrument, okay? And so, last Friday night, we had a meeting with a few of the members, and it was pretty serious stuff. We talked about all sorts of things, but I just want to get out that little list of topics that we shared and show that to you for a moment, okay? So, hang in, and you'll see what I'm getting at. Okay, on Friday night, we had a meeting with some of the Tarot Lumination members, and we covered a bunch of topics that are really nothing to do with the tarot at all, except that Tarot Lumination is the YouTube channel that brought us all together. And the topics that we covered were, number one, the United States and the profound connection with Donald Trump. Donald Trump and his profound astrological connection to the United States. It is mind-boggling when you look at the charts, and maybe we'll do another video about it. We'll see. But anyway, I think of it in terms of one of those descriptions of the United States where we have given ourselves permission for this thing called manifest destiny. And I truly believe that Donald is reincarnated as a person to be here at this time in the middle of this world chaos, to be kind of like a figurehead, an instigator, a catalyst, a revolutionary disruptor that helps humanity to evolve, grow, change, and adapt to become this new version of humanity that's happening right now. Starting right now, Global Restructuring, January 2020. This little book is available at Amazon, by the way, if you're interested. So that's one thing we talked about. There's no question about it. It's historical. It's mind-boggling when I do the astrology between Donald and the United States. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to win an election. Doesn't mean he's a good president or a bad president. I'm not really sure. But I do know that this is a profoundly historical relationship. It's going to go down in the history books. The next thing that we talked about was thank you to Path Traveler. There we go. We talked about the China video, about basically the concern about power and prosperity, how China has become very aggressive and super hyper aggressive in its mission to control the whole world. That was a very exciting video to watch. Sometimes exciting, sometimes very disturbing. If anyone's interested, they haven't seen it yet. It's called China, Power and Prosperity, and you can see it on PBS on YouTube, okay? I should mark that there, PBS YouTube. And it's free, okay? So anybody can watch it, but it's a very eye-opening video. I'm going to skip the Tucker video for now. I'm going to skip all that for now. I'm going to skip all this for now because we already talked about that on Friday. So I'm going to move forward, shuffle forward here till today, where, again, thank you to Path, because Path is a really good sleuth. A sleuth. Give me a second here. Thank you, Path. You are an exceptional sleuth. I like to do those things, but what happened is I discovered about 5 years ago it's much better that if I stop doing it and I only pick up the tiny fragments that I need to know. But I resonate with you very strongly, Pat, because you have a really voracious appetite for the knowledge, for knowing what's going on and digging into it, finding out what is going on, who out there can we trust, what is the information, what's going on with the federal government, what's going on with China, what's going on with the virus, what's going on with politics and the economics, all of that thing, banking. And Path has done a really good job of like scouring through enormous amounts of material to come up with some really real gems, some real nuggets. And let me mark another one for you here. Okay, so in terms of just like being informed, anybody who's watching this who's not here now, I'm going all over the place, as you can tell. This particular video is very illuminating, okay? Very worthy of watching. It's like an hour long. It's really well worth it. Here's another video, okay? And it's called Requiem for the American Dream. And it's by Noam Chomsky. And again, this is on YouTube. I believe you can watch it for free. And it's a different perspective. Noam Chomsky is considered to be a hardcore libertarian, and the hardcore left wing really like him because he kind of represents the common man. And he exposes all the fraudulence and criminality of the so-called elites. So again, it's really, really worth watching because you can see, kind of with a bit of sadness, how he is recognizing that America as we know it is collapsing. It is imploding. And I would agree. Also, China would agree with you. China has its own problems, so I'm not, terrified. But there is basically a Cold War starting right now. Okay. Hey JS, you just showed up. Hi. Hello Sadia. Sadiq, hi. Greetings. Thank you for coming to hang out. Hey JS, Sadia, all I'm doing is kind of like doing a recapitulation of some of the materials we covered last week. We were talking about how the world is changing forever. Global Restructuring, January 2020. And I wrote a book about it. Okay. Last Friday when we had the members meeting, we talked about the profound connection between Donald Trump and the United States. We talked about China. My big concern is China. I'm not so worried about the virus. I'm concerned about the finances and currency, but my biggest concern is China. Okay. We talked about this Tucker Carlson video. He's a really hardcore right-wing conservative news guy on the Fox channel, and he was describing some shocking inversions about what's happening in Seattle, about how like this basically the Communist Party that controls Seattle is trying to basically tell the police force, curb your whiteness. Okay, it's a very disturbing, bizarre. You might want to watch that video. We talked about China versus the USA, the astrology of China. I'm probably going to have to do a whole new show about China and the America, okay? And we also talked about Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter alignments that are happening right now, and the big shift that's coming over the next 4 years when the energy moves from Capricorn into Aquarius. It's going to be a very, very different world. So anyway, here we are back to today. I hope that helped you. Yeah. So, back to today. We were talking about, in the last week or so, Path Travelers sent me some links to some very interesting videos, which kind of line up with the things that I'm noticing and things I talked about in here. So I'm doing a recap now for you, JS, and for Sadia. China, Power and Prosperity. It's a documentary. It's really worth watching it. Okay, JS? There's another little documentary. It's called Requiem for the American Dream. It's basically an ode to the death of America as we know it, in order for the rebirth of America as we know it that is to come. Okay? The next things that are starting to show up are people are starting to take finances very, very much more seriously in the common world now. And there's videos all over YouTube popping up talking about cryptocurrency and the crash of the dollar, the worthlessness of paper dollar money and things like that. Then there's this one fellow called Mark Moss. He has a video channeled, and he had a fantastic video. It's called Crypto, the End of Finance. The End of Finance, okay? So that's really worth watching. And there are several dollars out there from very big people, like with big multi-billionaire people who understand all this stuff and they're good at describing it. It's all about the dollar crash, okay? And that is part of the natural cyclical event of empires as they grow and die and are reborn, okay? So I don't know how to do it right now except to have a really highly choreographed show, let's say Friday or next week or something, with members where I can do a much more luxurious presentation of these materials. Okay? Yeah. And so, over here, I've been doing a lot of chatting with Love Triber as well, because we're all concerned about money, our finances. We each have different conditions and circumstances. So the whole subject of money has been a very active conversation. You know, it's nothing to do with tarot or astrology if you don't think it is, but I think it is. If you look at, hold on, let me just check with you here. If you start trolling around YouTube and looking at all the financial videos about the end of the dollar, the rise of China, the collapse of the American empire, all of those things, it's all happening in some way, form, or another. It's part of the natural cycles of birth, procreation and life, and then death, and then birth, procreation, and death. These are cycles. And one of the channels, I'll have to find the link again, but he was referring to a couple of authors who were like predicting some of the big cycles that we're having now. And, you know, I could see it in the astrology charts. They could see it through historical financial charts. Those authors, that channel, they were looking at cyclical patterns in finance and history. Nothing to, they don't do anything with astrology, but you could see the stark parallels. It's absolutely mind-boggling. I'm just going to make a little Tarot Lumination Astrodoodle for you about one thing in particular. Thank you, JS. I put a lot of work into the library, as you can see over here. It's very ornate. Sometimes I stay up very, very late at night, keeping things all polished and neat and tidy. Sometimes I have to do touch-ups. Sometimes I have to get the cobwebs, all of that stuff. Sometimes Love Triber hangs out here and she stays up all night reading all these things and having conferences with people all over the world. It's mind-boggling. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Love Triber. So I want to show you something. Stay with me. I'll see if I can do this. This is going to be a very crude little astrodoodle. I'll come back to this in a moment. But here's what I wanted to show you. This is going to be a chart of the value of your dollar. And this is going to be time from 1913 up to 2020. And this is the value of the dollar. 100%, 50%, 25%, 75%, and so on. And so, please don't quote me on this. I'm going to show you something soon, okay? And thank you, JS. I'm glad you noticed. Yeah. Sometimes I transmit from the Tarot Lumination International Space Station. I have my own little pod connected to it, but today I'm working from the Tarot Lumination Library. It's a hands-on library. You can actually hold the books in your hands. Anyway, let me show you this. This is a chart about the value, okay, of your USD American dollar. Okay? So, over here in 1913, the Federal Reserve was created. The United States Federal Reserve. It's a private corporation owned and operated by a handful of commercial banks and bankers. And they decided that they're just going to do what they're going to do because they have to do it, because they need to take control of the wealth and the money on what I call the United States debt farm. So over here, when it first started, money was just flapping around. And then over here, at the creation of the Federal Reserve, the American dollar had 100% of its natural born value, and it was connected to the price of gold. And so the American dollar went up and down. It was traded on the markets. And then in the 1920s, it shot up, became very valuable, and then they printed too much money, and the dollar crashed, okay? And then they realized we have to do something about this. So this was the 1920s. Okay? Big boom, big boom. Everybody believed that they were getting rich. Then the 1930s and into the 40s. And then it kind of goes like this. And another peak, this is the Great Depression. And America had to dig its way out of the Depression. It took, 1929, 39, probably about 20 years. And then over here to the 1971 date. See, all of this time, the US dollar was connected to gold. And they had a fixed price. And so the dollar would trade and fluctuate. And then the Federal Reserve, they realized we're sick of pinning the American dollar to gold because it means we can't control the markets. So they unpinned it, which allowed them to print money to infinity. So remember, this is a chart about the value of your dollar. In other words, the more money that the Federal Reserve prints, the less valuable your dollar. So this is where we are today, and it looks basically like this. This is where we are today. Our dollar is only worth about, I think it's about 3.5% of its original value back in 1913. And this is all part of like the master plan from the banks and the Federal Reserve and the federal government to basically take money out of your wallet. Because every time they print and increase the money supply, that decreases the value. In other words, the more money that they print to pump it into the economy to make us, let's say, addicted to the paper dollars, the less value the dollar has. So this is where we are today, and these are just economic facts. And so, what you could have bought back then, if we had stuck to the gold standard, things would be very, very, very different, but the banks and the government could not control us. So they eliminated the gold standard. The next things they're going to try and do is eliminate cash and coins and gold and silver. They want to get rid of all of that because that means we have too much control. And we're going to go from, this is all centralized banking, okay? So this is a very, very sad story. It basically coincides with the end of the American financial empire and the beginning of a new empire. Okay, so I'll just put that over here. What I did, I started trolling around, following links inspired by Path Traveler. Oh, hello, Nikki. Yeah. So I started looking around, I started looking around at things like cryptocurrencies. And why? Okay, so let me go back here. Remember, this is like a tarot and astrology channel, and my contribution to YouTube viewers is more to do with the tarot and astrology than being a financial advisor. I've helped a lot of people on an individual level do really good things with their money, but I'm not a financial advisor. And I'll never get certified because I'm not very academic. And I did write this, and the most important thing in this book is the last few pages where we, let's see if I can find it, over here, I'm not going to dwell on this for too long, but basically, from the astrology point of view, it was very, very clear to me, let's say 6 or 8, let's see, 12 years ago, you could see all of this starting to happen. And 2020 was the landmark. It was the pinnacle of pressure. We've been talking about it and over and over and over again, repeat. Global Restructuring 2020, starting in January 2020. And so that's what's happening. And this is what I described in here in terms of the astrology. I could pinpoint it very accurately in terms of January 2020, especially with the eclipses. So we're now living in it. It's like a massive bomb that was dropped on the world. I think of it as a China bomb. You call it coronavirus or COVID or whatever. Yeah, I think it came from China, and it's part of a massive global strategy between the elites to try and restructure the world to suit the elites even better. And so they're trying to find ways to control it, okay? Hey, JS, I just saw your notes. Why aren't you interpreting charts and astrology transits on your website? That is content gold. Oh, I never thought about it. It's a lot of work. Mostly I just share these things randomly now and again for fun. You know, mostly all I do with this channel is I do live tarot readings on Sunday night. I stopped doing all the free astrology tarot reports for the monthly readings because I just didn't have enough energy and my channel was suppressed. So it didn't make any sense. I couldn't earn any money from the channel. I couldn't grow the channel. So the channel is stuck. I'm kind of like on life support here. And so I decided, okay, I can't fight it. So I'm just going to change what I do and how I do it. So now I just do these little things now and again, and I hope people get interested. But thank you for pointing that out, JS. Maybe we can talk about that, okay? Maybe we can, I don't know, figure something out. Honestly, I never thought about it. There are certain materials that could be put up there. I would love to have like a cache of what I call legacy material that has value for all time. But I haven't figured out exactly how to do it yet. Anyway, I always wanted to do it with music. I always thought I might be a pop star when I was a kid, but that never happened. That's legacy music. If you have a hit record, you can make millions of dollars if you know what you're doing. Anyway, that never happened. So today, this is how things are. I'm concerned. My energy is focused on the tarot and the astrology, and I like to help people. And I do private consultations and things like that. And for sure, I can look into someone's personal astrology. And I can do the tarot in order to help them to consolidate and protect their money, protect their privacy, protect their home, protect everything, so that you're not a victim of this stuff, okay? There are already like hundreds of millions of victims all over planet Earth because of this China bomb. It's all, to me, it feels all like deliberate, okay? So, thank you, JS. Thank you. The thing is, I don't really have a suit and a tie. I'm not one of those. I don't look like a financial advisor. I don't look like a news reporter. I don't have that kind of. I didn't go to Wharton Business School. I never went to Princeton or Harvard or Yale or MIT or anything like that. I'm not very good at school. But anyway, I'm quite intuitive. Sort of like Nikki, Anyway, so let me get back to the thing that is kind of concerning me today and that I want to discuss a little bit on this show, is the emerging global interest in cryptocurrencies. Why do they call them cryptocurrencies? It's because they're encrypted. They're cryptic. They're sort of like secret, hidden, and they're completely different from traditional currencies. The traditional currencies that we have today are things like the United States dollar, the Chinese yuan, the Swiss franc, the British pound, the Australian dollar, and so on and so on and so on. And all of these currencies exist in a free-floating open market where they trade against each other. And it's an open trade. So the value of one currency is contingent upon the value of another currency, which is contingent upon the value related to another currency. There is no 0 point because the gold standard was removed from the United States dollar. So the US dollar, what they call floats. The US dollar floats, and then everyone else, pretty much everyone else on earth, has to adjust and trade and moderate their currencies in order to accommodate the United States dollar. So the United States exists in a very privileged position, and we have exploited that position to the point of no return. And now we're at a point where the United States dollar is essentially so worthless. We have devalued our dollar over the last basically 100 years. It's mind-boggling how much destruction we have brought onto our own economy by printing money. It looks fantastic because there's more money in circulation, which makes it feel like we can do things. I can borrow and lend more. But what actually happens is the value of your money goes down as the amount of printed money increases. Okay? I can remember my dad passed away, but I remember he bought a home in Akron, Ohio. It was a nice little sort of cottage, miniature, small ranch house in Akron, Ohio, and it cost him $13,000, and he had a mortgage. Today, that same home is about $28,000. Okay? Sorry, excuse me, $280,000. How did that happen? That's through printing money. You're paying more and more and more dollars to get the same thing, okay? Anyway, there are certain people, hint, hint, the banks and the Federal Reserve, that benefit from inflation. They benefit from the process of borrowing, lending, and interest rates, and the marginal differences between the interest rates on what they pay to borrow from you and what they charge to lend to someone else. So we've reached an end point in American financial history. The Federal Reserve can't really devalue the dollar anymore except by printing more money. They can't lower interest rates anymore. We're already at the very bottom. There is an example of when you get negative interest rates, and also what they have, what are called bail-ins. I saw this the other day, but I think it was Greece and Turkey. Their governments decided, we are so corrupt, we're so bankrupt, we're going to take money out of the banks, and this is money that belongs to the depositors. So the government is stealing money, okay? We're very close to that point right now in America. That's what I believe, okay? So, anyway, the whole point of these so-called cryptocurrencies is they're like these secret ways of protecting the value of our money. Your money, mine, anybody's money in the world. So long as you have access to electricity and internet and a smartphone, you can do this stuff. It's absolutely scary. I own about $170 worth of Bitcoin, and I bought it years ago, like 8 years ago, just so that I could watch. In my observation, Bitcoin is the big one, and it is very unstable because it has become corrupted, and it's now basically like treated like a commodity, and people bet with, But the whole original idea is that Bitcoin would maintain the value. So let me go back to this. Let me go back to this chart. So, where is it? Sorry, this is getting a little bit jumbled. I'm not a science, professor or anything. But look at it this way. especially in the recent years after World War II, okay? Here's World War II over here. Okay, so we had a big boom in the 1950s, and then the dollar just kept going down and down and down and down and down, okay? And at the same time, with these new cryptos, what they're trying to do is this. Basically, like if Bitcoin existed back here, this is what Bitcoin would do. Okay? The whole idea of the cryptocurrencies is to protect your dollars from this. This is caused and built by the Federal Reserve in collusion with the federal government. They do this in order to strip your money, strip your wealth out of you while you work and work and work and put your money into them. Bitcoin doesn't like that. So what they originally designed was a currency that operates like this. In other words, every time a country debases its currency, the value of the Bitcoin increases, and so on and so on and so on, so that you basically get back to where you started, okay? The whole idea is to maintain and protect the original value of your money, okay? So this is the concept behind Bitcoin. Actually, let me mark it here, just so that you know it. The problem is today, here we are in 2020, this is not happening. What's actually happening is this is highly unstable. It has been corrupted already by Wall Street. There's nothing much you can do about it. So what's happening now is there is a brand new layer of historical developments in global finance. Let me see if I can talk about this. Okay. So the way I look at it, all of us here who are alive today, especially if you are in what's called a developed country, where, you know, for example, like America or Western Europe or something, where we have a higher possibility of having things like electricity, smartphones, internet, all of that stuff, we have a privileged position where we can learn and understand from all of this. And what's happening, my personal belief, is that the whole of planet Earth is starting to wake up to the corruption of what they call fiat currencies. Okay, the fiat currencies, like these are currencies that are make-believe. They're just what you believe. Let me go to the very first part of this book. Okay, I'm just going to show you something. Okay, right at the very beginning of the book here. Right at the very introduction of my little book. Actually, I should do it on the on the other stage, but it says like this. It's really simple. Introduction. Money is what we believe it to be. Money is also what we are taught to believe it to be. Whether we call it paper money, fiat currency, digital currency, no matter, it is all a fiction. The word fiat means made up or made or to make. Today we live in a world of fiat currencies. They are complete works of fiction, okay? Humans made up money to serve their convenience. Okay, now anyway, I could go on about this, but the point is that the common people, we have 7.5 billion people on Earth, right? 7.5 billion people. About 2 billion of those people have mostly just dirt and subsistence level existence. So you can't really factor them into the equation, but they're not stupid, okay? They just don't have access to resources or information. But the other 5 billion people, they're out there with smartphones, okay? And they're all connected, and they're starting to see all this stuff bubbling up and fermenting. Like, wait a minute. What, you're telling me my money is worthless? You're telling me it's just a game? You're telling me it's just confetti? You're telling me it's just monopoly money? I worked really hard for that money. and you're trying to take it away. You're making it less and less valuable. And then people like myself are saying, yep, exactly. Wake up. This is how it is. This is how it's been for a long time with fiat currencies. Fiat currencies go back for thousands of years. The United States today is the biggest fiat currency, and then we have China and the rest of the world. But all fiat currencies fail because fiat currencies are ultimately a game to try and screw you over and extract the value of your sweat, your equity, your brains, your power, your love, your dedication, to extract that from you like milk from a dead cow, like meat from a dead cow, like leather from a dead cow. Okay? That's the whole purpose. And it works really, really well so long as you don't question it. So long as you accept the exchange. The exchange is like, oh, we get movies, we get sports, we get fun, we get vacations, we get to have cars and travel, and we can do all these fun things. We can watch TV and watch movies, but do not ask any questions about what's really going on. Because what's really going on is you are being stripped of your personal wealth. Okay? So how do you protect that? Well, up until recently, nobody had any idea, because you can't protect it. You can't fight the Federal Reserve. So this guy, Satoshi, I can't remember, I don't know how to say his name. He decided he's going to create a cryptic currency, something that exists purely online, it's purely digital, and it's made up of computer code. And the computer code is a very pure thing. It's just made up of zeros and ones, and it is a code that is designed to make the money truthful and honest. And on the videos we were watching, Love Triber might remember, I'm not sure, but so you can trust in the money, and you don't need permission to do what you want to do with your money. And that's the problem for the Federal Reserve and all the big commercial banks all over the world, is that they don't want you to own your money. They don't want you to maintain the value of your money. Their goal is to strip you of everything that you have. America is the most perfect example. America is a debt farm, okay? The way I look at it is we've got about 350 million people here who are very active participants, whether you're a newborn or an elder, on the debt farm. It's almost impossible to live in the United States without being a participant in the debt farm. And the 5 pillars are basically mortgages, car payments, college loans, credit cards and debit cards, health care, and corporate debt. Okay? All of that stuff adds up, and it's just debt. If we were doing a private meeting right now, I would show you the United States debt clocks and the other debt clocks for the world. It's terrifying. It's all a big fiction. So this guy, he decided, screw this. I need to protect my money, protect my privacy, protect myself. So he did it by creating a computer code which immunized him from the process of devaluation and the debasing of his money. And it worked. It worked beautifully until other people figured out what he was doing, and they decided they were going to try to game it. And so he kind of got messed over. It's still very, very early days, so let me go forward, okay? Okay, so I'm hoping this little thing made sense here. So right now, we are in the very early stages of global restructuring, okay? And I was watching something today, and I was watching something with Love Triber. We were discussing all of these things. So it's almost like, okay, this stuff is all over the internet now, okay? It's from financial advisors, multi-billionaires, hedge fund managers, doomsday preppers, apocalyptics, end of the world people. It's all over the video because the whole world, thanks to the internet, is connected to the same story. They are realizing, my God, it really all is an optical illusion, especially when it comes to the money. The money, which is what is like the glue, the currency that connects us all together. And so, deep inside the world of cryptocurrencies, deep inside the world of cryptocurrencies, we already have things like Bitcoin, okay? And what the other one's Ethereum, okay? Okay? And they are all cryptocurrencies that are designed to protect your money. You put your money in here, and it's supposed to do this. But the problem is it doesn't, because these codes have been hijacked by Wall Street traders and day traders. So this isn't really working. And so we now have a next generation of cryptocurrency that is coming up. And I'll show you in a minute. These currencies are what's called centralized. Okay? These are just examples. These are centralized. They are still connected to the US dollar, for example, and other currencies. And so a bunch of geniuses, again, please don't, I'm not an expert in any of this. I'm just grabbing information as I learn it very, very quickly. I'm not a financier. I'm not an expert. I don't know how to write code or anything. But what's happening is a new momentum is they're trying to take these very new models from the last eight years or so. They're trying to take this model and take it to the next level. And the next level is this. Decentralized finance. Okay? So we watched a video about that. And the whole point of this new momentum on decentralized finance, it's actually... I missed an L. There we go. The guy who invented Bitcoin was a freaking genius. And he got things off to a really good start. And it still exists, it's still working, but it is a centralized phenomenon. And so these guys very recently, very, very recently, have started this new momentum on what they call decentralized finance, which is actually what these guys were trying to do in the first place, but they didn't quite make it. These guys are a little bit more advanced, and the whole idea is that it is completely decentralized, okay? So there are companies, one is called Compound, another one is called MakerDAO. Another one's called Kava. And what they're doing is they're taking cryptocurrencies to the next level. And the next level is here. Decentralized finance. And what they're calling it is DeFi. Okay? This is where it's all going to go. Eventually it's going to go further and further and further in this direction because it's a more advanced version of the original cryptos. So the whole idea is that I don't know if we're ever going to be able to save the dollar and get back to here, but because this is basically, this is like a doomsday scenario. This was an attempt, but it's not working. Okay? So what we have right now here today in the United States is this. This is where we are today, and it's very sad. They can't really take it any lower, okay? So, yeah, I know what you're saying, Path. So we're living in the moment, we're living in the period of right now. From here onwards, if we do another chart, I'll do another chart extension from here. Okay? If we just project this over to here, 2020, what's going to happen? They can't really take this any lower. So what's happening now is we're heading in to a vast unknown. Up until this point in history, we have had multiple fiat currencies. Okay, I'll just put these as fiat currencies. And typically, all fiat currencies collapse, and that usually signals the end of a particular economic model, like a country or a kingdom or an empire or something, because you can't take it any lower. So we're at this point right now, and so since we are here in human history, this is a mind-boggling period in human history. And in terms of the astrology, it's let's go to 2024, okay? Okay? Between today, now, and 2024, we are going to be going through some monumental convulsions all over planet Earth as these systems are collapsing. All of this is collapsing and something new is being born. My personal feeling is that something new is going to be something like this. Okay? I believe that DeFi, decentralized finance, is going to be the landscape of the future over here, okay? But we can't just go from here to here. We actually have to go through the implosion. This is where we are right now, okay? There's no way out of it in terms of astrology. This time period from here to here is, okay, that's where we are. We have to live through this for the next 4 years. And it's approximately 2022 over here, 2022 roughly over here, where I believe we're going to reach the moment of maximum pressure. Okay, at that point in time, Pluto in Capricorn, 27 degrees. Okay? At that point in world history, global history, Pluto will be in Capricorn at 27 degrees. This is the point of maximum pressure because the United States is born with Pluto in Capricorn at 27 degrees. And the United States is at the epicenter of this global restructuring, okay? Where I believe we're going to ultimately head into DeFi. Now here's the problem. DeFi is the enemy of the Federal Reserve, okay? This is the Federal Reserve over here when they first got born. Okay? Okay. The Federal Reserve, the ultimate enemy of the Federal Reserve is decentralized finance, because it means the Federal Reserve cannot control our currency, okay? So my feeling is that what's going to happen is this is going to be a time period of massive global convulsion, economic chaos, financial chaos, as everything collapses to do with global fiat currencies, and a new system is being born. And this new system, I believe, will be born out of the death of this old system. And that is a classic Pluto scenario. Total destruction, before rebirth. That's Pluto, okay? And we're going to reach the period of maximum pressure. You can mark your calendars towards, like, I would say 2022, 2023, something in there. I'm going to mark the years 2022, 2023. So please think long term. Everything that's happening right now on the world with the virus and the economic chaos and the financial devastation, we're at the very early stages here. This is when the bomb dropped. This is when China dropped the virus. And so now it's, okay? We have to live through this, and then out on the other side, we will have a new renaissance of something. My personal belief, this renaissance will be the restructuring of global finance, and my guess it's going to be based around DeFi. Okay? Now, here is the problem. What I was trying to illustrate earlier. You see these guys over here? They basically own the debt farm. They own the debt farm and they run the debt farm with the federal government. It's like a team, okay? And the debt farm is dead, okay? They can't bleed the debt cows anymore. So we're looking at something else here. The Federal Reserve is not going to go away tomorrow. So what the Federal Reserve is doing, they're trying to figure out how can we, as the Federal Reserve, stay alive and maintain all the power and control while the rest of the world is changing, going this way. And so they figured it out. So let me see if I can put another little chart over here. So I'm just going to keep making more doodles. So what I think is very funny, I can't remember exactly which video I saw where this was announced. I think Love Triber might remember. But here's what they announced. This is where it gets really, really absurd. This is where things get really, really funny. I think in the last month, okay, sometime in June and July 2020, the Federal Reserve Bank, okay, of America, they realized life and world is changing forever. So what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do? We can't stop this. Okay? This operates independently, cryptically, outside of their control. They hate this stuff. So they're figuring out, how are we going to make this work? We have to make this work for the Federal Reserve somehow. So what they did is they've hired somebody. The Federal Reserve Bank of America just hired. This is really funny. To me, this is the real point of the whole video. They just hired the, what is it, CEO, CFO, CIO from Coinbase. I don't remember the guy's name, but why is this important? Okay? The Federal Reserve just hired the CEO, CFO, CIO of Coinbase to work for the Federal Reserve as a consultant. Okay? And why are they doing that? Okay, my feeling, I'm just going to go back to you guys, okay? So why are they doing that? Why would the Federal Reserve hire somebody from the enemy? Okay? And they're trying to work out some kind of middle ground, obviously, and you figured that out. But here's the thing. What is Coinbase? Coinbase is actually the kind of the exchange. It's the so-called platform, the exchange, where you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies, okay? And Coinbase is by far the number one. You can Google Coinbase. You can open a Coinbase account. I have a Coinbase account. All it does, it just measures your transactions, okay? I don't really do anything with it. I just made it my business about 8 years ago to open an account with Coinbase and open an account with Bitcoin. And I have I bought about $150 and now it's worth about $170. So it's basically holding, but it was very, very unstable. But the thing is about Coinbase, all those cryptocurrencies are very commonly bought and sold through Coinbase, unless you're on Wall Street and you're trading directly. But for the general public, whoever uses cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, typically they do the transactions, the buying and selling, through Coinbase. So it's kind of a middle ground. Coinbase has to connect with American dollars, okay? DeFi does not have to connect with American dollars. You can put money into DeFi, but once your money is inside DeFi, nobody can touch it. Nobody can control it. You have complete control. You don't have to place your trust in any kind of banker or federal government. You don't have to get permission from any kind of banker or credit loan or, credit rating agency. Those things disappear. You don't need cash money anymore. You just need a DeFi account and your smartphone and your app thing. Okay? It's very early days. Okay, don't quote me. I'm not an expert. I don't have any DeFi money. But here's what I think is so funny. I just think it's funny that the Federal Reserve hired one of the most important people out of the enemy camp. You get it? Love Triber said his name is Brian Brooks. Okay, so I guess what I'm getting at here, we're getting into the very difficult territory that I was showing you on the map here before. Okay? So, let me go back to this a second. I was talking about this and this, how this is all connected. Okay, this is where we are. And the reason why this is such a historical time on Earth is because humanity has never done this before. We've had centuries and centuries of fiat currencies, okay? All over the place. We've had different empires, the Greek Empire, the Egyptian Empire, the Roman Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the British Empire, and now the American Empire, and also the Chinese Empire. And they all use fiat currencies, okay? Eventually, they all go to fiat currencies because they cannot stand the process of having to be true and honest and just with your money. What they want to do is the owners, basically like in America, it's the Federal Reserve and the federal government. They own the debt farm and they operate the debt farm and they bleed you of the real money by giving you paper money in exchange. So today here we are in a historical time in world finance where somebody figured out that there is a way to protect your money. They tried it with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is still the number one, but it's going to go next level. So we are at a big question mark here. Okay? Because we've never been here before in human history. And look at it this way. These people are not going to go away. They're not going to give up. Bitcoin is not going to go away. It's not going to give up. Federal Reserve is not going to go away. It's not going to give up. So what's going to happen? They're going to figure it out. And it's in this time period here for the next 4 years that they're going to be figuring it out. This is like the energy of this. This is the energy of we, the people, versus the institutions, okay? It's like, it's the Saturn-Pluto, the Saturn-Pluto energy over here right now. It's going to turn into the Saturn in Aquarius, and then Jupiter in Aquarius, and Saturn in Aquarius for a few years, and then Saturn in Pisces, and so on. But for this 4-year period, we're going to go through massive destruction and crushing of the world financial system. Okay, you'll see all sorts of things on the news, like, financial disaster in China, America collapses, new currency of world. But America's not going to go away. We're going to figure this out somehow, and I believe what will happen is that there will be some kind of working agreement between we the people and the federal government. So it's like we're trying to rebirth ourselves with our new improved Constitution in the United States. We still have the Constitution, and we still have the right to protect and defend our Constitution. We still have, you might not believe it today, but we do theoretically still have freedom of speech, freedom of press, right to bear arms, the right to elect our leaders, the right to rule of law, the right to liberty, pursuit of happiness, and all of that, the right to free trade. Okay, all of that stuff is good. That's why America has been so successful, because we held up these principles on paper, and it was never done before in humanity. But now those principles have been so corrupted by you-know-who, to the point of this, where there's no value in it anymore. What are we going to do now? So we're heading this way. I don't know how long I'm going to live, but I'm hoping that in my lifetime I get to this position somewhere in here where I can enjoy the protection. I can enjoy the value of my hard-earned dollars, and the Federal Reserve cannot strip the value away from me. I'm hoping that in terms of astrology, I will get to here somewhere, and this will be a beautiful new thing. I don't know what it's going to look like. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Absolutely nobody knows. All the people who are creating DeFi right now, decentralized finance, okay, are basically at war with the Federal Reserve and every other central bank across the world. But that's a good thing. That's creative destruction. And nowhere is that happening more powerfully than in the United States, where we have the Sun in Cancer fully opposed to Pluto in Capricorn. Let me show you. The reason why the United States is such a pivotal character in this evolutionary phase is because the United States is born with Capricorn 27 degrees, Mercury retrograde 27 degrees approximately in Cancer. This is the energy of commerce, trade, and communications, okay? And it's fully opposed by the energy of like control, command and control, big corporations, plutocracies, oligarchs who want complete, extreme, massive wealth, however they have to do it. So you get this energy of creative destruction. The sun represents creativity. There's the United States sun over here in the later degrees. It's pretty much opposed. So when you have this, whenever you have anybody who's born with Sun opposite Pluto, you know that they're going to have a life of creation and destruction. Certain old ways of being will be destroyed so that new ways of being can be reborn, okay? So it can be challenging, but I believe that American can handle it, okay? We're living through this right now. Right now, today, this week, we have a massive amount of planets piled up. Well, not a massive. We have Sun in Cancer roughly here, and we have Pluto in Capricorn roughly here at the tip of my finger. So this axis today, right now, is heavily emphasized, okay, in the United States. And is it a coincidence that, what's happening in the world right now? Sorry, don't look at that about Donald. That's from another story, another video. Okay? So, is it a coincidence right now? Sorry. I don't think it's a coincidence. So I'm going to try and do that little American chart, okay, very quickly here. My Sharpie is running out, pardon me. So I'm going to kind of do a transits chart. This is the USA, okay? Pluto over here, okay, 27 degrees. Sun and Mercury over here, okay? I'm just going to focus on that right now. Plus, I think it's Venus. What else? I can't remember, but there's a few other planets over here in Cancer. So the United States is born with this axis, very heavily aspected, okay? This axis, okay? Cancer, everybody here knows that they call America like 4th of July. That's the birth date of America, 1776, okay? This is roughly, well, this is what the charts looked like in 1776. This is like the birth chart, part of the birth chart of America. At this point in time, 1776, roughly, Pluto was 27 degrees Capricorn. Okay, I'll mark that over here, Capricorn. So you'll see what I'm getting at in just a moment. Now, roughly 250 years later, Pluto has already done a full return. Yes, you could call this a Pluto return. Some of you have probably heard of things like the Saturn return, which happens roughly every 29.5 years. The Pluto return happens roughly every 250 years. So guess what? This is where we are now. And guess what? At this moment in time, today, right now, in the heavens, we have a massive conjunction, which looks like this. Okay? These are transits. Right now, at this very moment, live in time right now, today, which is 15th July 2020, right now we have this massive conjunction where the transiting sun over here, actually let me put it in red so you can see it better. The transiting sun over here is lining up with America's birth sun, and the transiting Pluto over here is lined up, okay, with the American Pluto. So does that look like a coincidence to you? I don't think so. I think it's sacred geometry. I think of it in terms of manifest destiny. Okay? All of this here is happening right now in terms of the astrology. Okay? These two energies are happening, basically conjoining the United States birth chart. So what is happening up in the heavens right now is conjoining the birth chart of America. So it's a very, very powerful, tumultuous, I would say, what's the word for it? Moment in history. That's what it is. This is going to happen again in roughly 250 other years, but we're not going to have the Saturn-Jupiter thing. So this is an extremely rare thing that we have Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter over here. So, in other words, everything that's happening right now across the world, it's all exactly as it should be, especially for the United States. This is like the demolition of the United States as we know it, so that as part of the energy of creative destruction, okay, Sun, creativity, Pluto, destruction. Pluto also represents extreme wealth and power, the desire for extreme wealth and power, how to get that. In America, we figured out how to do that very, very well. But it was on a corrupt system. That system is dead, it's dying, so we are giving birth to a new system. And I believe that new system is this stuff here, which goes completely to war. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, it's starting to look a bit messy now. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little bit... Sorry, things are getting a little bit messy. How can I do this so I can present this to you in such a way that makes better sense? Okay, so we talked about this already. Now, let me get that other little chart if I can. See, if I was like a real technical genius, I would know how to do all this stuff with PowerPoint presentations, and I would look like a real professional. But I'm sorry, I don't have all of that stuff going for me. So I'm just going to pull this out. If you can see this, I hope you can see this, all right? This moment here, where we are right now, okay? This moment here is this moment here. Okay, it's very scary, it's very painful, it's very exciting. It's just like, you know, pregnancy. You know, when a woman becomes pregnant, it's the most amazing, miraculous thing. It's one of the biggest miracles on earth, pregnancy and the creation of new life. It also can be very, very dangerous. Being pregnant, being a mother, it's beautiful when it works, but in the old days, a mother could easily die from pregnancy because like so much has to happen for the new birth to occur. So anyway, this is what's happening. Notice also how the American Sun and the American Pluto are on the axes of money. This is the axis of money, owned money, okay, like the institutions, the banks, the governments, and the other people's money, okay, employers, taxes, insurances, all of that, all the tax money that these people collect out of all your creativity, all your labor. What they're trying to do is steal all your creativity and keep it over here. What we are trying to do is keep our money and share it so that this all works together. My feeling like what's happening now is we've reached this point of like collapse. This is like a massive implosion, which is what's happening here. And this is the rebirthing process. This is like just call this 4 years inside the birth canal. So we come out the other side. This is the actual birth period over here when we come up to a new light, a new world. This is the like, some people might even call it the dawning of the age of Aquarius, because Pluto will be entering Aquarius here. So the way I look at it is we're going to go through a 4-year journey of mind-boggling, torturous shifting and changing as the planet and all the populations of Earth, all the governments, all the banks, all the economies are getting ripped and shredded and torn apart in order to be rebuilt. Okay? Anyway, that's pretty much what I wanted to share on this video. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to try and tidy it up to make it look like I'm doing things properly. I might keep these notes for another time. We'll see. But I think this is like the fun stuff to me. To me, this is just hilarious. This, to me, is just mind-bogglingly funny. So there we go. Okay, I've ranted. I've kind of said what I wanted to say. I'm going to wrap it up in a minute. I hope some of you enjoyed this. I don't know who's here. Let me just check in the chat. So we have a few people. I'm going to go check in. I want to see what's going on. So we've got Path. Okay, JS. You've been very active in the chats, I can see. Love Tribers there. Gosh, you've been going at it. Nikki. Hello, Nikki. Who else is out there? And anyway, you guys have totally dominated the conversation in the chat, so I don't know what's going on, but it looks like you're all very intelligent and have very worthy comments. I don't know if the comments work on my channel anymore. I never even check. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So I know it looks very amateur and I'm kind of rambling all over the place, but if you just kind of soak it in, maybe think about it tomorrow, I'm hoping what you guys get is a sensation of like, oh my God, this is really happening. Oh my God, it's sacred geometry. oh my God, this is really like manifest destiny for the United States of America. Oh my God, this is the rebirth of America. Oh my God, this is the death of America. Oh, what's happening here? This is the death of the dollar. Oh my God, this is the rise of crypto. This is the rise of DeFi. Oh my God. Well, it's all true. It's all happening. I think this is a landmark moment in time when I saw that little news clip from one of those finance channel guys, and they were saying, by the way, the Federal Reserve of the United States of America just hired, what's his name? What did you say, Pat? You told me his name. Oh, hold on. Brian Brooks, is that right? I don't know. Sorry, Pat, I don't know. But they hired Brian Brooks, the boss man over at Coinbase, to be a consultant for the Federal Reserve. So you can tell the Federal Reserve is basically saying, hello, Brian, let's be friends. We're not going to go away. We're the Federal Reserve. We do whatever we want. We own the debt farm. The federal government works for us. They operate the debt farm. You know that. I know that. You've got your little game going on over there called DeFi. You've got your Bitcoins. You've got your Coinbase and everything. And you're not going to go away either. But we, the Federal Reserve, we understand that you can't take over the world because we're still here. And we understand, you understand, that we can't keep going anymore. So we have to find a way to marry ourselves together. How are we going to be friends here? How are we going to do this so we can have at least some semblance of power and control while you, the people, actually take over and do the DeFi thing? We're not going to be left out in the cold. We need to do something. We're important. We're very, very important people. We're the bankers. We're the Federal Reserve. We're not going to just let you take us down. So let's figure it out. Thank you, Brian. Please tell us what to do, Brian. What are your secrets? What are your tricks? How do you do what you do? Maybe you could include us, maybe? Figure out how can we do that? We still have to raise taxes. We still have to collect money to pay the operators. The operators, that's our friends, the federal government. We have to give them trillions of dollars so they can do what they do to keep America going. So let's figure it out. How are we going to do that? Okay? So anyway, yeah. Oh, Mark Moss, you said? Oh, his name is Mark Moss. Oh, Mark Moss, that's the other guy. Mark Moss is the guy. He's got a YouTube channel. It's got some fun stuff on about it called, especially The End of Finance. Yeah, go check that guy, Mark Moss. The End of Finance. Okay, I think that's probably where I got the story about the CEO of Coinbase being hired by the Federal Reserve. So anyway, yeah. Yeah, this is a monumental time in history. It's absolutely monumental. We've had, the birth and death of empires, but this is on a whole new scale, simply because it's a global empire. Think about the other empires. They had a certain amount of reach, but this is a global phenomenon. Every single person on Earth is going to be outwardly, openly affected. Okay? Right now. JS title or something. Oh, that's great. Like, are we witnessing the collapse of fiat currencies? That's a very good question, JS. Certainly the DeFi world is a threat to fiat currencies. The only original stabilizing force was gold. Okay? Gold and silver. You can watch videos all about the history of money, the history of gold and silver, how America connected and disconnected with gold, pegged to the gold at a certain price, because it's beautiful. When in the old days they had a fixed currency. It's just currency, okay? What we now have is fiat currencies because they're not connected to the gold standard. The gold standard is abandoned, and gold is just traded as a commodity. So I don't know what's going to happen, JS. Are we witnessing the collapse of fiat currencies? Well, in many ways, yes. Pretty much every currency on earth that is circulated is under pressure. I mean, look at Turkey, look at Greece, look at Iran, look at Lebanon, look at a lot of countries in Africa, some countries in Central and South America. Their economies are imploding because they cannot debase their currencies any further. Their currencies and their governments are so corrupted, they can't keep up. We've debased our currency so far. Their economies are collapsing. I mean, there's a lot of people, millions, hundreds of millions of people on earth whose lives are being devastated by what is happening right now. Okay? Is it because of the virus? I think the virus is like a trigger. I think the virus is like a bomb, and then it set off the collapse of what we're seeing right now. I do see it as a collapse, yes. I think as I put it in my book, I actually used the word financial catastrophe. Okay? I actually put it in the closing pages of my book. It is a global implosion of the fiat currency business model. Okay? It's all collapsing, and it will continue to collapse as a new model is born. Okay? Thank you, JS. Thank you. I hope people enjoyed it. You know, I'm not a historian. I'm not coming from Wall Street or anything like that. What I tried to do was line up the astrological patterns so people could see how they fit. And it's very, very beautiful. It is like a ticking clock. It's a very, very beautiful clock. And also, 250 years from now, we're going to have something similar when we get to the next Pluto return. Maybe I will reincarnate at that time as well, so I can be a witness to the next Pluto return. Okay? YouTube needs to add an audio message option so I can express myself better. Well, JS, there actually is a way that you can do that. You could become a member. For example, check the links below, and we have these member meetings, and we do it on the Terra Lumination private Zoom system. It's amazing. We can see each other and we can talk to each other. It's a beautiful thing. It's a lot of fun. It's just like doing this, but I can see you, JS, and I can hear you, JS. And you can talk to everybody in the room, and everybody in the room can hear you, and they can see you. So it is possible. But we do that in private. Okay? Anyway, let's wrap it up. I think we've had a fun time. I can't really add anything more to the video right now. So I'm going to basically kind of wrap it up. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please consider becoming a member. Please consider donations. You can go to terralumination.com. There's ways that you can donate. If you want to subscribe to the channel, that would be nice. It would be better if you could subscribe to the Terra Lumination newsletter. The best way to do it is just go to terralumination.com. Okay? Figure it out. You can do it. You're smart people. All right. I'm going to chill out now and head on to another part of the day. See what happens, okay? Excuse me. Yeah, just kind of chill. So I hope we can do this again next week. Wednesday noon we start in America, Pacific Standard Time. That makes it more accessible to folks over in Europe and Southeast Asia. Anyway. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.